My manager pulled me into a private coaching session and said, "You're too polished. People don't trust perfect." Then she sent an email to leadership saying I was struggling to connect and likely burning out. So I quietly forwarded her deleted messages, the ones where she asked me to rewrite her performance reviews, and now she's begging me not to tell them about. I've never written one of these before, but I need to get this off my chest. I work in tech. I'm not flashy, not loud. I just do my job well. I'm the kind of person who double checks everything, keeps my inbox at zero, and always comes to meetings prepared. My work is solid. I don't take shortcuts. I'm professional. Apparently, that was a problem. My manager, Marla, started about a year after I joined the company. She came from a flashy startup background and had this vibe of always being on, always performing for people. I didn't think much of it at first, but little by little, she started picking at me in ways that didn't make sense, like telling me to be less formal in client emails or that my tone in meetings made others feel insecure. She said I should leave room for others to shine. I thought she was trying to help at first, so I adjusted. I toned things down. But then it kept happening. Eventually, she pulled me into a so-called coaching session, just the two of us, no HR, no documentation. She smiled the whole time while she basically told me I was too polished and that people don't trust perfect, that I was alienating people without realizing it. She said leadership worried I was burning out and that I should work on connecting better. That part caught me off guard. I'd never said anything about burnout. I wasn't struggling. I was fine. So, who said I was? A few days later, I saw the answer. One of our senior directors accidentally forwarded me an email chain where Marla had written that I was struggling to connect with peers, that my tone was flat, and that I might be heading toward burnout. She made it sound like I was becoming unstable. I felt sick. That wasn't coaching, that was planting seeds. She was quietly sabotaging me. I started second-guessing everything. Was I actually giving off those vibes? Were people talking about me behind my back? I spiraled for a week before I decided to go back through all of my emails, chats, and meeting notes just to see if I'd missed something. And that's when I found them. The deleted messages. See, Marla wasn't careful. She used Slack DMs to ask me to tighten up her self-review during performance season. Then she sent me her peer reviews, the ones she was supposed to write for others, and asked me to wordsmith them too. I had helped her write 4 of them. She even said in one message, "You're so good at making this stuff sound smart. Can you spin this into something leadership-y?" She deleted the messages, but we use a business plan on Slack. Nothing ever really deletes. I quietly saved everything. Every deleted message, every email, every edit I'd made on her behalf. I created a PDF. 76 pages. Dates, names, timestamps. Then I waited. A few weeks later, she tried to put me on a development plan. Said I wasn't meeting collaborative expectations. I didn't react. I just said, okay. And then I forwarded the PDF with a quiet subject line, context regarding recent performance concerns. I CC'd HR. I BCC'd myself. She panicked, immediately tried to set up a private chat, said she was open to feedback. Then she sent me a message, this one not deleted, saying, "I had no idea you were feeling this way. Please let's talk before this escalates." She knew, and she was scared. I didn't respond. The last message I got from her was this: "Please, just don't tell them about the reviews. That will look bad for both of us." She was wrong. It only looked bad for her. I'm not someone who usually gets involved in drama. I keep to myself. I work hard. I try to stay professional even when things get messy. But I've been carrying this for months, and it's eating at me. I work in tech, big company, decent pay, lots of people just trying to survive the politics. When I joined, I came in quiet. I didn't make waves. I just did what I was hired to do. Meet deadlines, write clean documentation, ship things that worked. I'm naturally detail-oriented. I like order. I don't pretend to be perfect, but I try to be consistent. Apparently, that made me a target. My manager, Marla, wasn't there when I started. She was hired about a year later from a startup that had gone under. She came in loud, all hand gestures and buzzwords. The kind of person who interrupts meetings to pivot the conversation or says things like, let's circle back and align on optics. I didn't dislike her at first, just figured she was one of those people who talks more than she listens. But slowly, things started shifting. The comments were small at first. She'd say things like, you don't have to make every email perfect, or maybe let someone else answer next time. Once, after I finished a really clean presentation for a product lead, she smiled and said, you always sound so polished. Almost too polished, you know? I laughed awkwardly. I didn't know what to say. What does that even mean? Over time, her tone changed. During one project debrief, she told me I should try connecting more on a human level. Said I came off as cold. That word stuck with me. Cold. I'd never been called that in my life. I asked for examples, but she waved it off. It's just the vibe sometimes. Just some coaching. Then came the one-on-one. She scheduled it on a random Thursday, marked casual coaching session. Just the two of us. No agenda. No notes. When I joined the call, she smiled like it was nothing. Then she started in on how she cares about my growth and wants to help me become more relatable. I sat there listening to her say that I was too put together, and that made people feel like I was fake, that I might be burning out and not realizing it, and that leadership had noticed. That stopped me cold. Burning out? I'd never brought that up. I wasn't burned out. I was busy, but who isn't? I asked her who said that, and she just smiled and said, let's not make this about who said what. Let's just work on perception. I left the meeting confused and pissed off. I'd been putting in work quietly for over a year. I never asked for praise. I didn't complain. I just did my job. And now I was being told that being good at it was a problem? A few days later, one of the senior directors accidentally forwarded me an internal thread. Marla had written to him and another VP saying I was struggling to connect, that I might be overwhelmed, and that she was keeping an eye on me because I showed signs of possible burnout. That's when it all made sense. She wasn't coaching me. She was setting me up, framing a narrative. If I pushed back or made one mistake, she could say, see, she's unstable. She's burned out. I sat on my bed that night with my laptop open, just staring at that email chain over and over. My stomach hurt. The next day, I started going through my history. I needed to understand what was happening, if I'd missed something, or if she was really just targeting me. That's when I remembered the Slack messages from a few months earlier. Marla had messaged me during performance review season asking for help tightening up her self-review. She'd sent me bullet points and said, you're better with words than I am. Can you just clean this up so it sounds solid? I did it not thinking much of it. I thought I was helping my manager. That's what a team does, right? But it didn't stop there. A week later, she sent me a few of her peer reviews, literally pasted them into chat, and said, can you make this sound a little more leadership ready? I'm buried this week. Again, I said yes. I cleaned them up, rephrased things. I figured it was fine just lending a hand. She deleted those messages. I remembered that clearly. She had a habit of deleting stuff from Slack. But what she forgot is that we use a business Slack plan. Nothing really deletes. I went into my message history and pulled the full logs. I found everything. Dates, times, her original messages. The ones where she said things like, ugh, this is rough. Can you make it not sound like a rant? Or, this needs to sound more strategic. Can you add something about cross-functional alignment? I started saving them. All of it. I screen capped each conversation and compiled it into a PDF. I organized it by date and labeled every section. It ended up being 76 pages. Then I found her emails asking me to tweak documentation that had already been signed off on, asking me to sign off on things she hadn't read. I included those too. Weeks went by. I didn't say a word. Then she tried to put me on a development plan, said my collaboration skills had room for growth, said I needed to show more vulnerability, said I was struggling to connect with peers. She smiled while saying all of it like it was for my benefit. I didn't argue. I just said, "Thanks for the feedback," and left the meeting. That same afternoon, I sent the PDF to HR, to the senior director, to the VP. Subject line, context regarding performance concerns. No emotion, just facts. A few hours later, I got a message from her. "Hey, can we chat really quick?" I ignored it. Then another, "I'd really appreciate a quick conversation before this gets complicated." I ignored that too. Then came the long message, "I didn't mean to make you feel unsupported. I'm truly sorry if I've miscommunicated anything. I'm here if you want to talk. Please, just don't escalate this without talking to me first. I think we can work through this." I said nothing. The last thing she wrote was short and desperate. "Please, just don't tell them about the reviews. That will look bad for both of us." No, it only looks bad for her. And I wasn't done yet. After I sent the PDF, everything went quiet for a few days. Too quiet. I expected someone from HR to reach out right away, but nothing happened. I started second-guessing myself, wondering if I'd done something wrong by exposing it like that. But I reminded myself I didn't make this mess. I just told the truth. Then, suddenly, I was pulled into a check-in with HR. It wasn't a formal investigation. They said they were looking into the matter and just wanted to understand both perspectives. The woman from HR was polite, but cold. She asked careful questions like, "How long have you felt concerned about your working relationship with Marla? And would you say these requests were made under pressure?" I answered honestly. I told her I had helped Marla on good faith. I said I only realized later that she was using my work while turning around and undermining my own reputation. I didn't try to sound dramatic. I just gave them the facts. I even offered to walk them through the PDF. She said they'd review the materials carefully. Meanwhile, Marla stopped talking to me. No check-ins, no small talk, not even work-related messages. She started looping other people into conversations that used to go directly to me. I was being iced out, quietly replaced. Then I heard from a teammate, someone I trusted, that Marla had started telling people I was going through something personal and might be stepping away soon. She hadn't said it outright, but she was planting the idea that I was unstable. I couldn't believe it. Even after being exposed, she was still trying to protect herself by turning others against me. That's when I stopped playing nice. I went back into our shared documents folder and found the change history on several performance reviews. My name was in the metadata, showing that I had edited files linked to her manager feedback. I took screenshots. Then I found calendar invites she'd sent where she'd booked review writing blocks on my calendar instead of hers. Subtle, but clear evidence of delegation. I added everything to the original PDF and resent it with a simple update to HR. "Please see additional supporting documentation." Later that week, I got another call from HR. This one felt different. The tone was more serious. They asked very specific questions. Had I ever received written permission to ghostwrite? Did I feel pressure to keep these exchanges quiet? Was I aware this violated performance review ethics policy? I answered each question simply. No. Yes. I am now. By the next Monday, Marla was suddenly on leave. No explanation. Just a vague message from leadership that she was taking some personal time and that a temporary reporting structure would be put in place. But the story didn't end there. 2 weeks after she disappeared, someone from legal contacted me. They were conducting a formal review of conduct during the previous performance cycle. I wasn't in trouble. They just needed clarity on what Marla had done and how far it went. I told them everything. They asked me to sign a statement confirming my involvement in editing reviews and the conversations around it. I signed. That's when other people started coming to me, quietly, carefully, people I'd worked with for months. One woman said Marla had tried to get her to sign off on project reports she hadn't written. Another guy said Marla asked him to back her up on feedback she'd made up about a teammate just to justify a demotion. All of us had stayed quiet. Until now. A storm was building and everyone could feel it. Then I got a message I didn't expect from one of Marla's old managers at her previous company. He'd heard about what was going on through someone at our company who had worked with him before. He said, "This is familiar. You're not the first. She'd done this before. Built people up, used their work, then turned on them when it suited her. And this time, she'd picked the wrong person." But the fallout hadn't even started yet. 2 weeks into Marla's leave, things at work got tense. People stopped saying her name out loud. HR pretended everything was normal, but you could feel the tension in meetings, like everyone was waiting for something to drop. Then the audit started. They didn't call it that. They called it a policy compliance review, but people started getting pulled into one-on-one interviews. Even people who weren't on Marla's team. IT locked her company laptop remotely. She never came back to pick up her things. I thought that would be the end of it. I figured they'd quietly let her go and try to clean it up without saying too much. But then I got a call from someone in internal audit I'd never met before. She asked if I had ever seen Marla submit vendor proposals or external training contracts. I said no. That wasn't part of our work. She paused, then asked if I had ever seen this name before. She read off a company name I didn't recognize. I said no again. She thanked me and hung up. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the reviews. It had gone beyond me. I started hearing whispers that Marla had submitted invoices through a vendor nobody could verify, that the consulting fees were for someone no one had met. People started putting it together. Her sister-in-law had a shell company. That's where the money was going. Not a lot, just under the threshold that triggers automatic reviews. But over time, it added up. Quiet, recurring charges marked as leadership coaching and team development. All fake. She'd been stealing. I never saw that part coming. While that was unfolding, something else happened. One of the people I used to work with reached out and asked me to grab coffee. I'd always liked her. She was smart, steady, a little quiet. She told me very carefully that she had a copy of a feedback summary from last review cycle. It was a consolidated sheet of anonymous peer reviews, the ones we never got to see. My name was on it, except the feedback wasn't mine. I never wrote it. She showed me the notes. It said I was rigid, difficult to engage, not a team player. Multiple lines, all written in the same style, like they were copied and pasted. She said she found it strange back then, but didn't feel right saying anything. Now, she wasn't sure if Marla had faked some of the anonymous comments to justify her narrative. It made sense. No one ever asked us to confirm our feedback. It all went through Marla. HR still hadn't told me what they were doing with the PDF I gave them, or what the outcome would be. But then I got another message. It was from the head of HR, not someone I'd ever spoken to directly. She asked to meet with me privately. When we talked, she told me, carefully and slowly, that Marla's conduct had triggered a full internal review, and that, as a result, multiple peer reviews and performance ratings would be re-examined. They were reopening the entire cycle. They also asked me if I'd be willing to help recreate the original language Marla had asked me to edit to help them verify what she claimed as her own work. I said yes, and then she paused and added something else. There may be legal proceedings related to vendor misuse. We'll keep you updated. I hung up, sat back in my chair, and realized this had grown into something bigger than I ever expected. She didn't just come after me. She faked reviews, stole money, built lies on top of lies. And now everything was falling down on her. But I wasn't done. Not after what came next. No farewell email. No final meeting. No thank you from leadership. Just a short, cold message from HR that said, "Effective immediately, Marla last name is no longer employed at this company. Any questions can be directed to HR." Just like that, gone. After months of her controlling the narrative, twisting people's words, building stories that weren't true, she vanished from the company in 2 lines. But the damage she caused didn't vanish. People had been hurt. Good people. And now that she was out, things started surfacing. One guy from sales came forward. She'd told leadership he was unreliable under pressure, even though he'd pulled all-nighters for a client deal that brought in 7 figures. Another woman on my team learned that her rating had been downgraded from exceeds expectations to meets without her knowing. Marla had done it behind her back, so she wouldn't qualify for a raise. It all started stacking up. Quiet sabotage, petty power games, little lies with big consequences. HR launched a full correction cycle. They reviewed all her submitted evaluations. They reached out to people she had blocked from promotions and gave them a chance to challenge it. I heard from one guy she'd fired that he got offered a severance review. They were reclassifying his termination as manager misconduct. Then I was called into one more meeting with legal. They walked me through the vendor fraud. Her sister-in-law's shell company had received over $47,000 in consulting fees over 2 years. No records of services. No signed contracts. All approved by Marla. Some pushed through during holidays when no one was paying attention. She had been using us, the team, the department, the whole company, like a personal piggy bank and reputation ladder. Legal asked if I'd be willing to submit a formal witness statement. I did. 2 months after she was fired, I got a copy of a legal filing notice. She was being sued. Internal fraud, ethics violations, breach of trust. They were coming for her pension. It felt surreal. I never thought I'd see justice like that in real time. I thought maybe she'd just quietly bounce to another job. Instead, she was being made an example of. But that wasn't the final piece. One afternoon, I got a message from someone I didn't expect. Her old boss, the one who had messaged me months ago saying, "You're not the first." He told me she had tried to apply back to their company under a different title. He forwarded me the email. She was using a variation of her name. She listed fake references. She thought she could start over. He'd reported her to their legal department. That job offer never happened. By then, I'd been offered a promotion. A lateral move to a new team with a clean slate. I almost didn't take it. I felt tired, emotionally drained. But my new manager met with me and said, "You didn't just protect yourself. You protected everyone else." So I accepted. I got a raise. I got out from under her shadow. And more importantly, I got my reputation back, not because I fought loud, but because I didn't let her lies sit in silence. The last time I saw Marla was online 6 months later. Someone sent me a link. She was listed as a leadership consultant on a shady-looking website with stock photos and fake testimonials. She went from managing real people to scamming small businesses. I didn't contact her. I didn't need to. She's still out there, spinning stories. But this time, there's a paper trail she can't erase. A name that no one will trust again. And I still have the PDF.